Hopefully we have sound this week starting. So, hello everybody.
Dun, 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 dun.
Welcome to the show, everyone. We are going to be doing Star Trek today, which is one of mine and Michael's favourite topics.
We're going to be doing Star Trek today.
Doing it. We're actually going to be
sexy like.
talking about new Star Trek again, which could tie nicely in. If you like this episode, go watch our
episode.
go watch our Star Trek new Star Trek 10 Forward episode. What we're discussing this week, though, is the trailers for Picard, Discovery, and Lower Decks. Came out.
Thanks for that cue card.
Yeah, that's a intensive script you've got there, Michael.
Do you know what's funny? It didn't show up on the camera because of our new camera setup. Sick new camera setup.
So we get no hand action.
Do you know what's really funny? We're a Star Trek.
Billy Connolly.
Well, okay. We're a Star Trek themed YouTube channel.
Yes,
and we've only talked about Star Trek 3 times. Although we did technically talk about Star Trek in our first few episodes. It just wasn't Star Trek centric. Star Trek centric. That kind of
Star Trek.
That sounds like a good YouTube channel name for a fucking Star Trek themed YouTube channel.
Yep, change it.
Star Trek centric.
Let's rebrand.
Yeah.
But anyway, so where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start out by pointing out to anybody coming in to watch that I have already seen the trailers, the teaser trailers for the latest 3 incarnations of Star Trek from. Well, it's Paramount Plus now, but CBS All Access basically. But you hadn't until last night, and then you watched them more today. And so, as a result, we feel like, as two Star Trek buffs who tout ourselves as a Star Trek themed channel,
aficionados,
we should probably discuss those trailers and thoughts moving on forward with New Trek as it stands today.
Yeah.
Today?
So let's start then with, because when we discussed these in 10 Forward, we basically ranked them. And we said we liked Lower Decks the best, then Discovery, then Picard.
No, you said that.
Or did you say you like best?
I don't know. I'm undecided at the moment because as far as the best Star Trek that we've got, like it's Lower Decks. But the best television we've got so far is season 1 of Discovery, in my opinion. And we had an interesting conversation about that. We won't get into that today, though.
Well, why don't we do this then? Why don't we do it from the trailers? We'll go from the trailer that had the least information all the way up towards the one that had the most information.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So we'll start with Picard. Not much in the trailer. Patrick Stewart.
It's by all definitions of the term a teaser trailer.
Patrick Stewart doing Patrick Stewart things.
And stock footage of the Chateau Picard from season 1.
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't be back at the Chateau.
No.
We left him on La Sirena, shooting off into the distance, riding off into the sunset to have more adventures with his quirky crew of misfits. So if he's back at Chateau Picard to start this season, I'm going to be a little bit confused.
No, I think that was used in the teaser trailer
because they had stock footage.
Yeah,
but not the stuff they showed in his study though.
That was the Stargazer.
There was new things.
Yeah.
There was the all of his ready room effects, like the painting on the wall.
The Enterprise D.
Where did he get that from? Because I mean, his ready room got trashed.
It was salvaged instead of the artifact. It was salvaged from the.
I think it's called the Killer Nescar. The Killer. Let me look that up. I gotta know the name of that exactly. But yeah, no, and I'm being pedantic there because it could be a print for all we know. It's the 24th century. It's like get another one. Make sure it's identical.
Well, you know where he got it from. He got it from his shit. He just replicated it.
Well, but it's not all shit. Remember,
it
Vance,
tastes good.
So remember, Vance says that in that scene as a way to sort of like troll.
Yeah, the Orion Syndicate chick.
God, what was her name? She was such a forgettable villain. I don't remember her name. Osira.
Yeah, Osira. Well, the thing, I don't think she was forgettable. I think killing her off was, spoilers by the way, was a bad idea because
she was well acted but portrayed, but I think she was written as just we need a villain for this season.
She just didn't have the mustache.
Exactly.
Orions don't have any, like, skin hair. Did you notice how smooth their skin was? To the point where they had to use prosthetics on the actors, which was weird.
Well, because it didn't really test well from season 1, the old-fashioned paint their faces green approach that we used to do back in the original series.
Which is weird because I think it looked.
Why not? Right?
It was more jarring the fact that the faces looked rubbery.
It was, funnily enough, that video we were watching earlier by Corridor Crew. It was more honest because it's real, right? In the same way they were talking about practical effects in that video, at least the paint on the face is like more honest and more real. The prosthetics, because the Orion are a humanoid race, where the only difference is they've got green skin and black hair.
The fact that the skin looked rubbery was...
It looked a little bit backwards.
Anyway, let's get back to
we're
Picard.
not talking about
the
that
Picard
today.
trailer, obviously, is Picard. He's doing a monologue. As we go through his study, we see certain artifacts, and then it pans over to a deck of cards on the table with the Queen of Hearts, I believe it is. And that scene just shows that also playing cards are susceptible to Thanos' snap. And the card...
Hold on. Sorry. The artifact is called the Kurlan Nesgus.
Right.
Sorry. And it might have been in there for all we know.
It might have been.
Although he just kind of threw it on the ground and discarded it. I'm just trying to pick up like an actual breakdown of all the artifacts in that trailer.
Well, I'll carry on talking while you're looking for him then. So the card melds away to lead the letter Q. And then we have John Delancey's great voice just come in as a character that the trial never ends. So we obviously know that Picard... I'm hoping they're writing it like this. I'm hoping that because the first season of Picard let me down. Well, no, not let me down because it didn't actually owe me anything.
I think it's fair to say it was a bit of a letdown. But it doesn't mean that on a whole the season was bad.
No,
it just was.
It didn't deliver as far as that's
kind of. I mean, I know you hated it, but kind of.
I didn't hate it.
No, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier in that it was. It had its moments. It was there was some good action, some good television, some good writing in areas, and then it was just a giant fucking balloon let go.
Well, that was it. And the reason why Picard holds my interest more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier is, at least we had the nice familiar stuff. We had Picard, we had Seven of Nine, we had Data in certain scenes. It was stuff
I think the episode Nepenthe, where they go to the Riker's house, I think is wonderful.
Yeah, that was my favourite episode of the season.
We need to get you a mute button.
Yeah, for when I sneeze.
Yeah.
That was definitely my favourite episode. And you could tell that these actors have known each other for the length that the characters have basically known each other. And it didn't feel like they were acting. It felt like Picard going to see his old buddies, Deanna and Riker, and having a nice chat with them.
Yeah. Anyway, the trailer.
So the trailer obviously is leading us to believe that Q is going to be in Picard, and I'm hoping, and this is where I was going with my thought, is I don't want him to just be an in and out, flash of the pan. So he comes in at the start and he sets the ball rolling for whatever escapade they're going to go on over the season arc. I want him to be in it all, like he be the main focus through every episode.
I don't know why you even worry. Because
I love to worry about little shit like this.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's going to be. You don't have something like that in a teaser trailer if he's not going to be a crucial part of the show.
Why not? He wasn't a crucial part of TNG.
Okay, TNG's episodic, and he's a crucial part of every episode he's in.
Of course he is.
So that was dumb. What you just said, dumb. I don't.
But that's what I'm saying though. Is I don't want him to be like he was in TNG, where he'll come in at the beginning and he'll set them on a path for what the story's going to be.
He'll disappear from episodes. He won't be in every episode.
Yeah, I think this is what I'm trying to say. Is that I hope it's not a bait and switch. So they're using the fact of something really familiar in Q.
It's not a bait and switch.
You don't think so?
No. If that was a bait and switch, I would be like first in line with all the fucking angry Trek fans wanting blood from fucking Kurtzman. Why the fuck? Like, it's stupid. I mean, don't get me wrong.
It could be a bait.
There's a gnawing thing in the back of my mind that Kurtzman is capable of that kind of fucking dumb fuckery, but I don't think so. Because let me do this. I'm thinking because I got up on actually a really good breakdown of the trailer.
Okay, good.
So we start out with a return to Chateau Picard, except this time Jean-Luc is nowhere to be seen. He's not there, and we're in his. It's not quite the same study we see either. So maybe another room. Maybe it's his library, and it's pretty much. It's hard to say. Because his study that he recreates on La Serena, I thought was like, oh, it's like his ready room. But this new room is the one that has all of his ready room artifacts in it. And the first thing we see as we enter Picard's study is a clock. Right? And there's a lot of that throughout the trailer. A lot of themes of time.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that the show's going to be time travel based. And oddly enough, there has been spoilers. There has been behind the scenes, not leaks. It's actual official pictures that have shown up of Seven and Raffi on a subway train in the past.
Right. Okay.
So we know that it's going to be time related, and it's the first indication in the trailer. And the first line from Picard, because he does dialogue over the top of the trailer, is the true final frontier is time. So there you go. There's not really any ambiguity there, if you ask me. We continue to pan around the room as his voice continues. He says, time can turn even the most impulsive, our most ill-considered actions into history. What does that tell you, maybe, if it tells you anything about the show? To me, it kind of indicates that perhaps there's something, again, just like in the episode Tapestry with Q, where he gives Picard a chance to relive history, a chance that they're going back in time to maybe relive parts of their own history, or human history even, to see if they can influence and do things differently. And then only to find out that if they did do things differently, their life wouldn't be anything close to what they have now. The whole point of Q's involvement in that episode Tapestry is it's kind of like Christmas Carol almost. It's like, go and see what, the ghost of Christmas. Q was the ghost of Christmas past in that episode. Go and see what you did in the past and see if there's anything you regret and anything you want to change, and then see what the results of that are.
Yeah.
So we continue to pan around his room, essentially just seeing all of these artifacts that fans of the show are going to be like, oh look, basically.
Yeah, it was fancy.
Leo DiCaprio, him pointing.
Yeah.
When the walls fell. But because we see things like
DP Jones thinks they're going to go back in time and delete all New Trek.
Yeah, well, he can sod off.
I wouldn't mind him going back and selectively deleting some Trek.
Could you imagine if that's what it turned out? That all of the differences with the prime timeline in the Kurtzman era, in the Paramount era, are actually a result of Picard and crew tampering with history? And it was just, it didn't tamper with history enough to change too much, just enough to change a couple of visual things here and there.
Well, the thing is, though, in Picard, I don't feel like it's too far away from how I would have expected Starfleet to advance after the Next Generation. Uniforms, ships, and all that kind of stuff. The biggest criticism we've talked about before on the show of New Trek was Discovery looking so different.
Yeah, Jonesy here absolutely despises Picard, by the way, so there's not going to be any constructive criticism at all from him. But do please give it.
We'd love to see your comments. I do understand why he doesn't like Picard, because there's a lot of Picard I don't like.
I understand why people don't like it, but I'm just not one of these people I don't shit on stuff, really. We just had a conversation before we started this about Rise of Skywalker, and we know that it's not a great piece of cinema, but I don't have a deep vitriolic hatred for it. I don't care.
Hashtag
really.
not my Star Wars.
Yeah. So, anyways, continuing on, more voiceover from Jean-Luc is what we do in a crisis, often weighs upon us less heavily than what we wish we had done, what could have been. Again, to me, it's like this is where the bait and switch might be. It might be telling anyone who knows what to look for, this is going to be an homage to Tapestry right here, and then it turns out it isn't.
Yeah.
What do we see? We see his old Starfleet comm badge, the one that we see that he uses in season 1. We'll pass over 2 books. The top one is Paradise Lost, John Milton's epic poem about man's expulsion from the Garden of Eden. So again, take of that what you will.
Yeah.
The Paradise Lost also happens to be the title of an episode of Deep Space Nine dealing with rogue elements in Starfleet attempting a coup. The other book
That's where I recognize the name from. I didn't know the book, but when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, I'm sure there's a Star Trek episode called
it's
that.
the one where the Defiant has to fight that Excelsior class ship.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Long Dark Tunnel, which is actually a fictional novel from the Dixon Hill series. So again, little Easter eggs and essentially
nods and winks to what's come
just
before.
Fan service, realistically, but very well utilized fan service in a teaser trailer to as you say, nods and winks. Deep cut the novel's author is Tracy Tom Bretter of The Big Goodbye, the first Dixon Hill episode. And with the what could have been line that he says, the camera then lingers on a model of the USS Stargazer. Which was obviously, as we know, severely damaged and abandoned after Battle of Maxia, where he used the famed Picard maneuver. And
He gets destroyed though, I think. In
No.
that TNG episode.
no,
doesn't
no, he doesn't.
Does he not?
He's just getting towed. I wonder if that's actually again his original Stargazer model because like I don't know how.
he broke all his little tiny ships.
Well, but if you think about it though, like
the
I
line
said,
must be drawn
this
here.
is the 24th going on 25th century that we're at, right? It's 2399.
Yeah.
So maybe like you can, if you lose something that isn't like sentimental anyway, something that doesn't mean much to you. Let's say that's just a random model of the Stargazer he bought from a store. He can program that into his replicator now. So if he ever loses it or breaks it, he'll just get another one made. Same goes for the painting on the wall, right?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things that don't make sense if he actually went back to Viridian 3 to go get that stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, the Nescus, he doesn't give a shit about that. But then that's what I said. There's actual sentimental value to his photo album.
Well, you know that there'll be loads of Trekkies pouring over that, just that lingering shot as it goes through this thing, trying to spot everything.
Oh, they already have.
And I'm sure I saw it myself. In the corner, right by the window, was Mephisto. He was sat in the corner.
No, Q's Mephisto.
Well, kinda. I don't think he's as evil as Mephisto, because
Well, no, he's
Mephisto's supposed to be.
Q's not evil.
Yeah, Mephisto's supposed to be an allegory for the devil.
So we continue on. We see a hourglass. Again, more of this. It's obviously going to be a time travel series this year.
Gazora TNG edits are better than all the new Trek. I don't know what that is.
I know what it is, and no, but it is funny. Okay, so Picard continues. Time offers so many opportunities, but never second chances. And then with that, we have, as you pointed out, focusing on the Queen of Hearts. Wait, it is
that gets snapped.
It gets finger snapped.
Yeah, did you not see?
It's
It
it's
gets
inevitable.
dusted. It's part of the blip.
And we have a familiar voice telling us that the trial never ends. There was one thing I noticed in there that's not in this breakdown, but it's a Bajoran artifact. But again, I'm not sure what specific artifact it was, but because it was just something I think that the emissary, Cisco has in his office.
Well, so what did you think though? We've gone through the breakdown.
I told you what I think. I'm pretty sure that they're going to do an homage to the episode of TNG Tapestry and basically follow that same plot line where Q is going, but he's going to do it to the entire crew of La Sirena. It's not just going to be him.
Right.
He's going to give them a scenario where they can travel back in time and either relive moments of their own past or just moments specific from human history to see if they can influence and change anything and then live with the repercussions or choose to go back and make sure everything's as it's supposed to be.
I will say this: if they are going to double down on a time travel,
Do you even know what the episode Tapestry of TNG
I
is?
can't remember it now.
It's like the best episode of TNG ever.
That can't be true because that's best of both worlds.
It's better than Best of Both Worlds.
I'll
by,
go back
by
and watch
miles.
Okay,
Okay, let me explain.
listen, Mike.
You might
Mike Scalassa over there.
You might remember it if I refresh you on it.
All right, go ahead.
The episode starts out. Picard's brought back from an away mission, and he's what's it called? His robotic heart has exploded in his chest, and he dies in sickbay. And it cuts to white, and Picard is basically in the Temple of the Prophets. It's all white basically.
Right, yeah.
And he sees a hooded figure, and he's like, "Who is this? Where am I?" He walks up to it, and it's Q, and he says, "Don't you know, Picard? You're dead." Roll credits. And then the essence of the episode is he gives him a chance to go back and relive the moments when he had to get a new heart, which was when he was a rash, impulsive young cadet, and he gets stabbed in the back by a
bar
Nausicaan.
fight. Yeah, you see the bar
And
fight.
he goes back and he changes a whole bunch of stuff. He ends up sleeping with one of his friends, and he ends up pissing off another friend because he's trying to tell him, don't fight with the Nausicaans, and then he doesn't lose his heart. And so Q then snaps him back to present, and he's still alive. He's still on the Enterprise, oddly enough, but he's wearing blue. He's a science officer, and he's only an ensign, but he's still the same age. And he finds out that Riker's the captain, and he finds out that his life basically was shit if he didn't make those rash, impulsive decisions. It's
because he learned from those.
Exactly, it's a typical Q trying to teach Picard a lesson episode. It's fucking phenomenal, and I think if they did use that as the backbone for the premise of this season of Picard season 2, I think we're already off to a better start.
I will say this though: time travel done well is really good.
Well, keep in mind if you follow what I'm saying though, like time travel, it's not actually true time travel. It's just Q manipulating things and giving them an experience.
But how do you do that for a full 10 episode series?
I know you've got this thought on the top of your head, and you just want to get it in about time travel being a difficult thing. But address what I said first before we move on to that.
But how? Oh, then I'll address it. How do you spin that though for 10 episodes without it getting boring?
I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying.
But you're insinuating that inherently that would be a boring concept. When it's, for one episode, one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made.
But then again, if that entire season was that for every single crew member, it would be boring.
Why? Only you're just assuming
because it's
that.
the exact same story, just with different crew members.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be a completely different story. It's the same plot line.
So it's the same story.
No, with more. But when you just said with more crew members.
Yeah, I don't think that would be.
No. Okay. If they had Picard go back in time and then relive being a cadet and then try to stop himself from fighting a Nausicaan and lose his heart, yeah, it would be the exact same story. But instead, you've got it's just the concept.
Yeah, but what I'm saying with the concept is, especially with how Picard's filmed, where it's basically one big storyline, it worked for TNG as an episode because he sent Picard back and we saw what would happen, and then next week it was a different story. To run that for 10 episodes... that wouldn't be good storytelling.
How do you know? You haven't seen it, and this is just a theory. Why are you scrutinizing?
Is it a film theory?
You're scrutinizing my.
Do you not think if
idea based on nothing?
Do you not think though if they're gonna do time travel, they might just get sent back permanently, and then they?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily time travel. Personally, I think it's just it's not real time travel. It's Q putting them in a scenario where they get to relive a moment in time.
So it's basically Q is Ziggy and Picard is Sam.
No,
and they're just going to go
not at all.
retread Quantum Leap.
Not at all, no. No.
I think I don't think they'll go that way. Because I don't think it lends itself to a serial show.
But why not?
So if you take the first season, there was of Picard.
Yeah.
It was basically like...
which is mediocre.
Yeah, but the storyline, though, was one big storyline.
Yeah.
You had to get from A to B.
I understand what a serialization is.
I don't see that concept being used very well in a serialized way.
Why not? If you don't see it, explain to me.
Because the payoff of that storyline is showing Picard that if he'd have done things differently, his life would be crap.
All right, so... again, you probably weren't listening to me because you wanted to just expand on what you were saying about time. Let me tell you. The concept of the whole Christmas Carol thing, giving them an opportunity to go back and see if they could change something. So I'm not talking about Picard going back to the bar fight with the Nausicans. That's just like a concept. It's just an idea. You can make so many things from that. It could be, for instance, maybe Q is like, oh, the trial never ends because the Federation can't exist. Because if the Federation exists, kaboom, the whole universe is going to blow up. Blah, blah, blah. And so you've got to go back now and maybe relive these moments that led towards the Federation becoming a thing. And you've got to, actually, in true Q fashion, that's it. He leaves it ambiguous and sends them back there. And now they're like, oh, crap, what do we do? It's almost like think about the think about the City on the Edge of Forever from TOS, right? Where Kirk has to go back in time to find Bones because he's gone through the Guardian of Forever. Kirk falls in love with that lady, but he also finds out that this lady not dying leads to like a dictatorship, global union taking over the world, and horrible things happening. So he has to choose to let her die. No matter how much he wants to save her.
Yeah.
Now imagine. And this, again, conceptual. I'm not saying this is what I think is going to happen, but I'm trying to paint a picture to see if I can get you on the same level as me. Q sends them back in time, and he sends them to Germany in 1928, and they meet young Hitler, and they have the opportunity to kill him. And they come back to the future and find out that the future is now worse as a result, right? That's the concept I'm talking about. That wouldn't be boring over a 10 episode.
And what you just described there, that story would be great as a 45-minute episode. But then if they then go back and do that...
Why? Why can't you do that for an entire series?
Because of the way I think Picard's being written. The fact that the full 10 episode series? That's the full one story arc.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll stray away from that.
Well, they won't. Why can't you're not telling me why they can't do that for 10 episodes?
What? Every single episode, they just bounce back into a different scenario.
No, the whole thing just encompasses 10 episodes. First episode could be. Oh, we've lost someone. Who did we lose?
I
Is
don't
it you
know.
or me?
It's probably me.
It's you. But anyway, we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Just jiggle the cable.
I'm back.
So, right. Let's say first episode is dedicated to catching up with La Sirena, where they're at, what they're doing, and you're not back. And they're injected into a scenario, right? Where
Yeah.
we're
Let's
like,
remember they
Okay.
actually means.
so we're injected back into a scenario where they're doing what they do as the La Sirena. They're just like they're rogues going and solving problems outside the law, right? And then the finale of that episode is Q shows up.
Yeah.
Episode 2 starts out. Q and Picard are going over like, well, what are you doing, Q? I haven't seen you in over 40 years, blah 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 blah, and all this. And Jean-Luc, I'm here because the trial never ends. And he takes him to the future. And he's like, what is this, Q? What are we doing? This is the year 31 something. And it could even maybe tie in with what's going on in Discovery Season 4 with this weird gravity-wide galactic anomaly, right? And that whole episode is basically him trying to show Picard that this cannot happen and humanity is going to be the cause. And that he was mistaken once upon a time when he allowed humanity to continue a la all good things, right? Third episode, we finally get sent back in time, and the crew have no idea, and he's trying to explain. He basically spends the whole episode trying to explain to them who Q is and what he's done and where they are, and they're just trying to figure out where in space they are because he didn't send them back to a specific time or give them any particular cues or ideas, and they find out that they're actually in the solar system, and it's the 20th century or something. Episode 4, fish out of water episode. It's basically Star Trek Voyage Home. These guys back on 20th century Earth or 21st century Earth. I don't know. Like, come on. I'm 5 episodes in.
Okay,
Tell me how this can't be.
Right. Okay. So I mistook your concept. Right. If the concept is that Q does send them back, and they're back in that one time period for the whole show, and at the end of the show, at the end of the series, they come back to their own timeline. No problem with that.
How did you mistake what I was
Because
saying?
what I thought you was meaning was every single week they go back to a different time period.
No, but you could get clever with that though, and be like every single week, Q's randomly like throwing them into different parts of this fucked up timeline.
Again, though,
So now
it's
we're
very
now that's
that's
quantum
where
leap. Yeah.
it's Quantum Leap or it's Sliders.
Yeah. Now exactly. Now
and that's what I was thinking you were on about.
But that's good though.
I don't think you'd need Q for that. A good way of writing that one is if their ship had a problem with their engine, and their engine kept skipping them through time.
Well, no, cool. Okay, but that's where because you're going against the concept now.
Yeah.
Because the concept of it being related to Tapestry is that he's not actually sending them back in time.
They're like a simulation.
Think, what does Q do with the crew all the time?
Manipulates
He puts them in scenarios to see. Basically treats the crew of the Enterprise D like guinea pigs. So he's never actually truly doing any of these things to them physically. It's just a fantasy, like the Robin Hood stuff. The first season
Turning Riker into a Q.
Yeah, and that whole first season he puts the crew through trial with those weird pig monsters and whatnot. He's always putting them on trial and putting them through trials and tribulations. If this wouldn't actually be physically them going back and changing time, they would think that's what's going on. But it would turn out in the end, no, this was just another lesson. This was a lesson to humanity again.
The thing is with Q, it basically opens up any storyline. You basically, Q is the king of all MacGuffins because he has the power to do anything.
We do know that it will be related to time and different periods of time.
Do you know what?
Unless that trailer is just complete bullshit and
bait and switch. What would be nice is if Q joins the.
Do you understand though that a bait and switch you can't just be like, hey, look, we're gonna give you a new Star Trek about the Enterprise and Anson Mount is gonna be Pike and it's gonna be Pike and Spock and then first episode they both die and a new guy comes and takes over. You can't just that's lazy writing. That's
Star
not
Wars level stuff.
No, that's not a bait and switch. A bait and switch usually needs to be some sort of clever indication somewhere in the text or subtext that this was going to be the switch was going to happen.
So what I'd like though is more of a case of Q's been at it again and he's been expunged from the continuum.
Is expunged a word?
Yeah,
that's a cool word. I like that.
I don't know whether I used it right. But he's been kicked out of the continuum
again.
Again, yeah. So like now we're going back to using another kind of like TNG episode.
Now you get the
no,
idea.
it's a Voyager episode, but he's doing it with his buddy.
No, it happens as well. Deja Q when he gets turned into a human.
Yes.
And expelled, and he has to be on board the.
And they make him take off the uniform and everything. But now that
he shows up naked.
Oh yeah, he does.
Do you remember the episode Deja Q?
Yeah, I remember it. Now that would be a good concept of having a omnipotent being with powers stripped for the full season.
Yeah, expunged, erased, or removed completely.
Yes, yeah, I did use it right. But again, yeah, with Q coming on board,
specifically towards something unpleasant as well, just like Q.
With Q coming on board for season 2,
I thought you said cucumber for a second.
Q coming on board, I said. With basically. It's giving the writers of the show free reign to basically do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to see, but it's not coming for another year.
Well, tell me now that we've had a nice, good, thoughtful discussion about what I said, tell me now what you were talking about time travel. What do you think's going to happen with time travel?
If they use time travel, I think it would be more a case of akin to like First Contact, where they have to go back and integrate into society. They got
to fix the timeline.
Well, no, not even that far. But they get.
Well, that's First Contact.
Well, no, because remember after they said they pick a little island for him to sit back there and stay out of history's way.
But they had to fix fix the timeline first.
But I'm more on about that point. So they get knocked back. They try maybe first 2 episodes. They try the hardest to see that how they can get back. But then the realization sets in that they can never get back. So then they have to integrate into society. And if they pick an interesting time, here's a good one. How would this work for?
Well, no, come on. Like you had an idea. It seems like you get galloping.
No,
So okay, then real quick, they're going back in time to try and integrate, and so the trial is them trying to figure out how to get back.
And not use their knowledge. The trial
without changing anything.
Yeah, the trial is them, and they come up with an ingenious way of getting back. Let's say they get sent back to the mid-90s, and they find their way to Los Angeles.
This is bugging me. You've got hair hanging off of your collar for fluff or whatever. Sorry, there you go. It's gone now.
Yeah, so
and it's now on your chest.
Oh yeah. Let's say they know certain points throughout time of what's happening. So they get to Los Angeles mid-90s because they know Voyager's there. Seven knows Voyager's there, and that's
Seven would know, but remember, Seven wasn't actually part of the crew at that point.
But she would know about where the Dr. got his emitter from, and that's how that's one of the ideas that they have of trying to get back to their time, even though that they know that they would then be on Voyager in the Delta Quadrant. If they're going to tie it into previous stuff the shows have done, I want them to do it cleverly. Like
that's not anywhere close to as clever as what I suggested.
Oh, that's your opinion?
No, that's not my opinion. Like, you're basically saying to actually go do something they physically can't do and go interact with the 90s Voyager crew in the 20th century. How are they going to do that? They can't. Like, Sarah Silverman might look the same age, but none of the crew of the fucking Voyager do.
But Trials and Tribulations interacted with Kirk from the 60s.
Okay, the only problem there, though, is that there's a stylistic like 60s quality to like I don't know what the size of film would have been used at the time, but there was a way that they were able to easily integrate that in to that old style. You're talking about now going from 16:9.
Oh no. I'm not on about them.
You couldn't reuse the footage.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying do it cleverly. You don't just chop and change and use footage like they used to do in old Star Trek episodes, like Message in a Bottle with Tuvok. I don't want them to do that, but cleverly work in the fact that they have knowledge of times that people from their era have come back to where they're stuck. Anyway, that's
how would that relate to Q?
I want Q to be part of the crew. I want him to be stripped of his powers.
But the whole line, "the trial never ends," indicates that Q is still Q, and he's up to his usual tricks.
Do you know what would be interesting though is if he had been kicked out of the collective, and the actual story arc of season 2 of Picard is Q learning his lesson. That would be interesting.
What, that he wasn't omnipotent all along?
No, that he's been kicked out of the collective to be made mortal.
Continuum.
The continuum, and it's all about Q having personal development.
So Q would be kicked out, but it wouldn't be like in Deja Q where he still holds all his memories.
Yeah, it could be, but
Well, no, because then he would still be. He would still have like the foresight aspect of omnipotence and the knowledge. He wouldn't have the powers, but he'd still know things.
No, but what I'm saying is write the season 2 more as it's actually Q
What
who
did you say
does
about
development.
Tuvok message in a bottle just now?
Reusing footage, but
A message in a bottle.
that's the is it?
That's the episode with Prometheus.
All right. So which episode? What's the name of the episode where he has the parasite in him? The really good award-winning one, with the one we talked about where we said he's not dead
Oh, that one. Oh shit.
because they use old footage and Tuvok's not there.
It begins with P. Anyway,
Because-
continue thought.
Because on having a character like Q actually grow as a character would be a good story thread. Anyway, we've talked about
Flashback.
we've talked about Picard for way too long.
It's called Flashback.
Flashback.
I don't think we have.
Which one do you want to move on?
I think it's the one that's so far, given what we've seen, the most ambiguous and therefore the
Oh,
most
yeah, this-
interesting to theorycraft.
There is literally fucking nothing in that trailer
Yeah.
that actually. Again, well, these are all just our theories. Let's move on to my favorite of the 3 shows, and let's go on to Lower Decks now. Or do you want to do Discovery now?
Let's do season 4 of Discovery first.
That's the one that's got the most information about in the trailer. So, do you want to leave that one to the end?
Well, okay, but the thing about Lower Decks is we can't really go into discussion about it like we have with Picard, because Lower Decks is going to be, it's a cartoon, and
Yeah.
and pretty much all we're going to do is comment on the fun, cool, shitty things we saw cool, fun things that we saw in
Yeah.
the
So
trailer.
let's
there's
talk about
there's no thery crafting.
So
about
let's
Lower
talk about
Decks.
Lower Decks then and get that out of the way, and then we'll move
Alright,
on to
fine.
Discovery. Again, my favorite of the 3 so far is Lower Decks, hands down. I think it's a good mashup of comedy, very faithful to Star Trek lore, and
It's the best Star Trek that we've gotten from New Trek so far.
yeah, and the characters, all the characters are likable.
And honestly, like, I'm talking to you, Paramount, Alex Kurtzman, just put Mike McMahon in charge of everything.
And then you'll get 3 good Trek
Yeah.
shows. So yeah, let's go through the trailer because I want to jump straight to the ending, but we'll go through the whole trailer to start with.
I gotta pull it up, so
All right.
do a dance.
Okay,
Hello,
while he's
honey.
pulling it up, I will ask for all you people out there to please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, as it does help us out as we're trying to grow. Follow Michael on Twitch as well. He's got a really good up-and-coming Twitch channel. And if you're
Sure.
yeah,
Thanks.
and if you're a Mass Effect fan, he's going to be, is it 8 hours tomorrow you're doing?
I'm doing an 8-hour stream tomorrow, yeah.
He's doing an 8-hour stream as he's now got the new Legendary Edition of Mass Effect. And 8 hours, that's... Are you going to need Hot Pockets? You got plenty of Hot Pockets?
No, what do you think about that pack of sausage rolls?
That's almost gone.
Well, no, it's an 8-pack, and you had
I've
one,
already had one.
you had one, and I had 2, so
alright,
I've got
okay.
5 left.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat 5 sausage rolls.
I was going to say, that's not going to sustain you through an 8-hour
I got
marathon.
sandwich meats and bread and peanuts and chips and stuff. It's gonna be like a sandwich dinner, snack dinner all day.
Right.
Okay,
So,
the
that's what he's doing on his Twitch channel.
I actually can't find a good breakdown, so we might have to just go on memory.
Let's go on memory then. Basically, we see Earth Space Dock, the Cerritos being refit. Then we see...
No, it starts off with just the Cerritos flying.
Oh, yeah, what was I thinking of?
I'm gonna steal from Trek Movie again. Thanks, TrekMovie.com. I've paraphrased enough
All right, go then.
because I found it here. All right. The first of the following quick moments is no. So never mind. A quick moment. We're professionals, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, a quick moment.
Again, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, a quick moment on the USS Cerritos mess with Mariner asking Tendi and Rutherford, "What up? We doing sci-fi stuff today?"
Yeah.
Starts it off, sets the tone for the short, rapid pace trailer,
Pasted.
full of a freeze frame moment showing us what our lower deck heroes are basically up to. So that's why, like I said, there's not really much theory crafting because it doesn't give us any information other than just it's like, here's where they're at, right? So we know that the three of them are back on the ship together, but Boimler's not because we know he's on the Titan, and Rutherford's got his cyborg implant back. And then we go into like a big quick cut of little scenes and actions and stuff. And the first thing is we get a Miranda named Macduff. Yeah, the USS Macduff.
I tried to pause it and I just...
It's pretty cool as well because it looks more like a Miranda class from the Deep Space Nine era, where it's actually got like the glowing, the nacelle, the blue strips on the nacelle, and it actually has glowing red Buzzard collectors, which is funny because the motion picture redesign of the Enterprise was supposed to have, it had the blue grills on the side, Bear Grylls, blue grills, but
Blue Grills is his brother.
Its Buzzard collectors were supposed to glow red, just like the original round ones, but now the square ones. But I think the excuse me, I need a mute switch too. I think that the electronics on the model, they couldn't get it to work or look right on screen, so they ended up just not having it illuminated. So seeing the Miranda with those motion picture era Star Trek nacelles glowing how they're supposed to do was pretty sweet. This Miranda class is called USS Macduff, which is the name of a Shakespearean hero, just for anybody who might want to know. He's a hero, but he's
also Duffman's Scottish ancestor.
Yeah. But the funny thing about Macduff, though, is the hero apparently of that story, because we obviously know Macbeth is an anti-hero. Macduff barely does anything, so when he actually kills Macbeth, it's so anticlimactic. But anyway, this is
spoilers for if you've not read or seen any Macbeth, by the way.
Yeah. So he's a Shakespearean hero and that imposter crew member from the TNG episode Conundrum as well. So we're learning everything we can about TNG episodes we've never seen. And then our next scene finds two unknown Denobulans. If anybody wants to know, that's the race that Dr. Phlox from Enterprise is. They find them in a dark alien world facing down an angry Mugatu. Technically Mugato, but everyone pronounced it Mugatu in the TOS episode, A Private Little War. So already here, just like
they're throwing back to
10 seconds in, we've got a little clip just showing that for sure Boimler is not with us, and then immediately we're thrown with all the fan service stuff. Yeah. We've got a Miranda class, we've got Denobulans, we've got a TOS a character from TOS, just more references. That's the white thing with the horn, by the way.
Yeah.
And then so we also have another reference because we see that Mariner is basically doing the same martial art that Riker and his dad do in season 2 of Star Trek TNG. It's called Anbo Jitsu. It's fake. It's not a real martial art. It's actually really stupid, really, when you think about it.
See, and it's funny because Mariner in that as a cartoon, it looks good, but when Riker's wearing it in TNG, it looks so bad.
It was always a problem I had with like 90s era Star Trek. I know they were trying to. Roddenberry really wanted this to feel
open palm pump.
He really wanted, the future of the 24th century to feel like a new, unknown world that to us didn't look right. That's why he insisted on there being no character drama, and that's why the first 2 seasons suck so much. And when unfortunately when he did pass away, and other writers came in, TNG started getting more interesting because the writers were like, okay, we can actually write character drama now. So the whole Anbo Jitsu thing to me was just dumb. I was like, why couldn't you just have them both doing judo or karate? Why did they have to be doing some space judo?
But just think about everything that they brought in, like games and leisure activities, like the hitting the ball against the wall. Why not just have squash?
Yeah,
but they call it something different.
It's space squash.
Yes, it's space
but that's the thing that the reason I'm talking about this though is because that's what I expect from seeing that clip. So I'll just show you it so that you refresh your memory. It's obviously a referential joke from Lower Decks, probably, hopefully, to me about how kind of goofy the idea of space judo is.
Do you know the only game I can think of that they have that is actually fits into sci-fi? Is the one that Guinan kicks is it Picard's actually kicks where they have to shoot the flying target with the phaser?
I know that Janeway and Seven do that as well.
Yeah, I think it's in
No,
TNT
there's
first.
plenty of actual things though, like
Like-
Bashir and
Play darts.
yeah, they play darts
Perfect.
and they play pool.
But they
They
don't
play tennis.
Do you know what always annoyed me about the darts?
They play baseball.
On the
But
whole.
then again, Deep Space Nine was the most relatable Star Trek show that's ever been out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway, it's the most
Watch
relatable.
Deep Space Nine, it's really good. Do you know what was one of the things, and it's really stupid, what really bugged me about them playing darts? Was they didn't play on a proper dartboard.
What do you mean? It doesn't have the right numbers or anything?
No, they play on an electronic dartboard, and you can buy them here.
Well, electronic dartboards,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, but what it is that it's not a dartboard with like foam where the darts stick in. It's like loads of little holes, and you throw special darts. And when it goes into a hole in a segment, the board knows what you've hit, so it adds up your total. It's
okay,
garbage.
so no, okay, but let bear with me for a second. That's just a matter of 90s prop directors. Like, we need a futuristic looking dartboard. Yeah, use this one.
Yeah, it's got lights on
no,
it.
in universe, I don't think it's one of them. It's supposed to be like a proper dartboard,
know.
but it's like, because it's the future. Well, hey, look, it can, yeah.
And we all know if we were in Star Trek in the future, we'd all just been holosuites of quarks.
I don't know. Maybe. I think the whole idea of holodecks and holosuites is kind of goofy anyway, because it's super ambiguous how it works. You've got super hardcore Star Trek nerds who will defend the technology to the ends of the earth, but realistically, like, you'd be running into walls. Or like walking around in circles. You'd feel yourself not walking in straight lines. How can you climb a fucking mountain?
Yeah, unless you had a holodeck literally the size of an aircraft hangar.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, we continue on. Ransom the Rainbow God is what this big.
That's when he's doing the spinning round.
In a flash of energy, we see members of the Cerritos crew raising their arms as if in worship to a floating Commander Ransom, who fires rainbows of energy from his hands as he floats above what looks like a Klingon city. A shot of some underground facility finds Boimler frantically working some controls while he is defended by some civilians, possibly members of the Titan crew, because he is wearing the Titan. He's wearing the DS9 era uniforms. So the not so smart aliens from TNG Samaritan Snare, who returned in Lower Deck season 1 finale, is much more dangerous. The Packlids are back, basically.
Oh no, another Enterprise.
It's my favorite bit of the whole show so far. They returned in Lower Deck season 1 finale, and looks like they're going to be returning in season 2 as well.
That last episode's actually, even though it's a cartoon, they destroy and kill everybody on board a ship.
Well, that's what's so great about that moment, and why that's why, in my opinion, the writing behind Lower Decks needs to be utilized going forward in other episodes of Star Trek, because that's the first. Now, don't get me wrong, the writing up to that point does have some great moments in it, but that's the first time you really you don't laugh. It's a serious moment, but rise the stakes. You're like, oh shit. Like when the Robodow or whatever it's called zooms off into, like, tries to warp away and the nacelle gets ripped off and it blows up, you're like, oh shit, this episode means business.
You're like, that's a proper Star Trek episode rather than a parody cartoon.
And then we're back with Mariner showing off her butt-kicking ways, this time fending off a group of Cardassians in an interrogation chamber straight out of the TNG episode Chain of Command, except with less Patrick Stewart nudity. And there are 4 lights, though. Like, look. So the referential stuff. See, the referential stuff doesn't bug me at all. Because to me, Star Trek in general, especially the 90s Star Trek, is a self-referential TV show.
Yeah.
It's always referencing its own stuff. That's why Star Trek to me is superior to Star Wars. Because, and I know they're both different beasts, and I always make this argument that you can't really compare Star Trek and Star Wars, and you can like both. I just think Star Trek's better because it's sci-fi. Star Wars would be probably worse if it was a sci-fi, and it's better off being a pure fantasy. But as a complete sci-fi nerd, Star Trek really resonates with me because of the self-referential nature of it. Because it's like, hey, look, our universe makes sense. Things happen for a reason. Like, we don't just go into hyperspace and then we're where we need to be. We go to warp, and if we don't have dilithium crystals, then the warp, sustaining a warp field is dangerous. You know what I mean? It might all be technobabble gobbledygook half the time, but there is always
space crystals,
self-referential stuff that explains why things are happening in that universe. And I think that's why Lower Decks is great for old school Star Trek fans. Okay, and then we next see Tendi, who is in a room with a number of different alien creatures in cages. She is surprised by a group of snake things that spring out behind her. These could all be attached below the screen as one single creature, but, it's possibly even an Andromedan Kelvin, which Spock describes as an immense being, 100 limbs which resemble tentacles in their natural form. I don't know. I honestly, that's one of those references that I will say I have no idea what that is. And then we're back with Rutherford. Quick moment with him clutching his head, screaming in distress. In the season finale, we know, as I just discussed, that he loses his
cybernetic.
He loses his cybernetic thing in a fight with the his holographic creation Badgie, and it results it results in the death of Bajoran security chief Shax. Prax is from The Expanse. And he loses all of his memories as a result. So maybe this is a good moment when all of his memories all of a sudden rush back. I don't know. That's a good suggestion. We also see them all hanging out with Mariner in the brig.
That's the most interesting scene, I think, of this trailer.
But she loves the brig. She's always in the brig. It's kind of interesting because maybe she's also like now she's at odds with her mum again, and all of that
mending fences is gone.
The only thing missing is Boimler is what Tendi says, which is like obviously going to be like a main plot point of quite a few episodes, is that they miss him and we want him back, and that's going to be his arc, is how he fucks up essentially and can't handle being on the Titan.
Can't handle all the licks and the lack of comms.
So then that leads us into the final scene of the trailer where we're back on the USS Titan under the command of legendary Captain William T. Riker, with Brad Boimler screaming and freaking out at the situation they're in. So smash cut to the Titan. Things don't seem to be going so well for Brad now at the helm of the ship in the middle of a tense battle. Oh, the jazz. Of course, Riker is taking this battle in stride after ordering his signature Red Alert and lightens the mood for his bridge crew with the casual jazz music reference, which is funny because he didn't really make jazz music references in TNG.
No, but he tried to play his trombone every option he got.
And he says, quote, "I'm starting to think this jam session's got too many licks and not enough comps."
What the hell does that even mean?
I think that's basically pointing at the reason, essentially, why Boimler is going to end up back with the crew of the Cerritos is because he
can't handle the pressure.
He can't handle the pressure of being on the Titan.
He likes he's destined to be a lower deck guy all his life.
And that's the teaser trailer of Lower Decks. Thanks, TrekMovie.com.
So again, not much to discuss there, Fairycraft, because we know it's a 22-minute cartoon.
But it seems like the jokes are landing pretty much in the same sort of like they're funny, and it's moments of ha ha ha, and then like it seems like they're following that same trend of not making it too like ridiculously Rick and Morty, South Park, over the top funny, because that to me is where you get pulled out of the Star Trek universe too much.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people complain and say this show isn't funny, and I'm like, well, I don't think it's meant to necessarily be
slapstick
like, funny,
Rick and Morty funny.
Like just as a pure comedy. It's meant to be funny to Star Trek fans.
Yeah. It's made for Trek fans. Mm-hmm. The way that Rise of Skywalker wasn't made for anyone. I think the last scene of the trailer will be the first episode, and Boimler will be back on the Cerritos by
instantly.
episode 2.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. I'm actually thinking that the majority of the stuff we see as far as what the trailer tells us about where the characters are at is all going to be in episode 1.
Yeah.
All of the quick cuts of shit like Ransom with the rainbow arms and whatnot, the Miranda and all that, that's all going to be stuff that happens in later on in the season.
Anyway, when does that one come out? Because we know Picard's not out till 2022. When's Lower Decks out?
October of this year, I think.
So, what's that? That's
no, Discovery comes out in October this year, so it's probably a little bit before that. They'll do the 23 days of Star Trek again, likely.
So it'll probably come out in September then. So you think Lower Decks...
No, because it's 10 episodes, so that's 10 weeks.
Alright, so you think Lower Decks is coming out first?
Very much likely will be out first.
Well, we'll find out and we'll put it in the description below.
Yeah.
Anyway, fun. Trailer again. Let's move on to the last one.
Discovery Season 4.
Before we go into a breakdown of the actual trailer, I just want to say, like what you said, I agreed with you, and that the tone of the trailer, I don't understand why they always have to go that dark, serious tone.
But okay, so they did it the opposite for Season 2, even with like the trendy 20th century music and whatnot, track, and I think it was Lenny Kravitz, "Fly Away." Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think that's the song that was playing, and so they were like, yeah, this is going to be a fun ha 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 series, and it didn't quite work. Because what we ended up getting was lighter in tone, but just an awful mess when it came to like the actual
Second half of the
the
season.
overarching story of the Red Angel suit.
So
But like season 1 and season 3 all had dramatic. We've lost. We've feared. We've gone through all this shit,
yeah,
and now I've shed so many tears. My eyes are fucking hurting.
I think that puts a lot of people off though, and it gives Discovery that bad taste to certain people. To me, there's got to be a middle ground. The good thing that Star Trek always did was it branched everything. You had episodes which were tugging at the heartstrings, sad episodes. You then had fun, jovial episodes. Then you had batshit ghost shagging episodes.
Well, but it's just a trailer. It might not bear any like resemblance to the overall tone of season 4 when it comes out.
Like last season, which is my favorite season, I can understand having that kind of tone for that season because the future they get to is a dark, depressing future from what they've come from. So it makes sense.
Sort of. Because you do find out over the course of the series that it's not as depressing as we thought.
When they
it's
first
just
get there.
it's just the universe has regressed a little bit and become disconnected as a result of the lack of actual functional dilithium.
Yeah, so that melancholy feel works for a trailer for that kind of season.
So anyway,
Let's get
we start out. We've got a scene of Michael Burnham walking alone down the corridor of the USS Discovery, and it looks like there's some distress going on. We've got like sparks everywhere, and we've got fucking rocks bursting out of consoles.
She's going to fight Disc Wars in Tron Legacy.
As Captain Burnham continues her walk, we hear her say, "We are living in uncertainty." Again, I'm like, we were living in uncertainty, and we seem to have fixed it. So why can't this season now be like, oh no,
we're rebuilding,
we're living in the height of the Federation as it stands in the 32nd century. But we cut to what appears to be a 32nd century Federation ship or facility that has its gravity inverted as the voiceover continues.
That looked like the Starfleet bubble from the last season.
I thought it looked like the just an upside down version of the set of Discovery Shuttle Bay painted red. Even for a crew as familiar as it is as this one, is the next thing she says. Cutting to the bridge, we see Michael and Buck looking at the view screen with everybody standing around showing off those fabulous new uniforms.
So her line there, that just read that line again.
Even for a crew as familiar as it is as this one.
Okay, so that's a perfect line, and this is why I think they needed to just maybe change this season tonally. Is first 3 seasons of Discovery is
sorry, again, it's just the trailer.
Yeah.
We don't know what the overall tone of this season
because as good as Discovery is, it's also bad in places. But the general theme is Discovery from its very first episode has always had bad things happen to them. There's very few episodes which are jovial, fun episodes which you normally get from Star Trek. They're always at the sharp end of some disaster or shit like that.
So you see, that's why I really like season 1, and I feel like it's strange that people just can't get over the fact that it's visually very different for what it should be, because season 1 does. Season 1 has an overarching story that, for the most part, when we visit those plot threads, is dark and brooding, but it has scattered in it fun episodes like Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad.
Yeah,
that episode is not connected to the rest of the season.
No, that's just a standout, and it's the standout episode.
It's brilliant. It's great shit.
But that's what I get from that line that she said there. As a fan of the show, I want some levity for them. I don't want them to be always at the. That was one.
I don't want them always to be having to try to figure out a world-ending, universe-ending threat.
And honestly, that's to me what was the nail in the coffin of Stargate Universe. Yeah. They were always in that dire straits, live or die scenario.
I think it worked in season 3 though, given the situation.
Oh yeah,
they just left their families behind. Everyone they knew and loved was dead and gone. They were in this new future, lost, and it didn't look like it was a bright future.
And that's what I say. That kind of tone for season 3 was perfect. But now I want to see a bit of levity.
Yeah, but anyway, comment on the uniforms.
Okay. I'm not a fan of them.
I'm a fan of the colours, but I'm not a fan of how long they look.
Because they look like dress uniforms. Because Star Trek was always good. What they did was take the current uniform, make it a bit longer, and call it a dress uniform.
Well, no, TNG did.
I think
the dress uniforms in TOS are really dapper looking, like gold, almost like they're not button up because there is no.
it's Velcro.
It's like like with gold seams and stuff, and like look very military like, and almost they're not long.
No,
And then we don't see dress uniforms in the movie era. But the thing is, the very militaristic style red uniforms from the movie eras are also pretty dressy.
They are kind of dress uniforms.
The only time you see an actual dress as a dress uniform is in Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager.
In fact, TNG's dress for uniform is very like the originals, but less bling because it is actually a long singular piece where the Velcro would be.
The originals are not long. Their dress uniforms are not long.
They're like down to waist.
No, they're not. No. Think of the Menagerie, the clip show episode with Pike in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's when they're wearing dress uniforms, and they're not long. They're not literal dresses.
No, I don't. I mean, like to me, a dress uniform long is like it comes down to your ass.
I'll get you a picture.
But yeah, I feel that the new uniforms do look like dress uniforms. Colors are fine. I'm glad the fact that they've gone back to big, bold colors. What I will say about them is I like them better than the original Discovery uniforms. I didn't like the. Yeah, so that is what I call a long dress uniform. See how it comes down to like the crotch area and the ass area?
No, it doesn't. It comes down to the waist area.
Yeah, it just goes below the waist.
It's like a jacket.
Yeah, and that's what a dress uniform is.
That's not anywhere near as long as what we're seeing in Discovery, and it's nowhere near as long as the TNG dress uniforms.
That's quite close to what Discovery is now.
Not even.
You think Discovery's way longer than that?
Yeah, one side of it is definitely. No, those are just jackets. You can tell that the props department of TOS just embroidered a bunch of jackets.
Yeah. Oh, you see what Pike's wearing there on the right?
Yeah.
That's kind of dressy as well.
Oh, wait, well, that's the new uniforms from season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but either way, like I think that's a bit of a strange gripe. I think the only it's not so much that they look like dress uniforms to me. That it's just I don't like that one side of the uniform. It looks like they've got the shirts untucked.
Yeah.
It does.
You said you didn't like the red. I actually didn't like the blue. I thought the blue was too dark.
Oh, the blue's fantastic. The blue's so good. If I buy one of those uniforms, I'm getting the blue one. The yellow looks great. I think
the yellow looks the best.
The reason it's not that I don't like the way the red looks as far as its appeal to my eye. I just don't like that it's very different from the reds that we've seen. It's not crimson enough. It's too scarlet, too bold.
How close are the new uniforms that Discovery's wearing to what the Admiral wears in season 3?
Not even.
They're not.
No, they're the exact same as the uniforms that they wear at the end of season 3. But then obviously what happened was the cinematographer was like, those uniforms blend in too much with the sets. Like we can't use that color, so they took those uniforms, kept the same design, and just changed it from grey to black and just inverted the colours.
Do you reckon they did what they did with Tilly and just painted a new colour on her in post?
Well, no, not in this season. But it is weird that they've all of a sudden made her sciences, because since the very beginning, now keep in mind, she started out in TOS era, so she was wearing bronze red, which at the time was security and engineering, and that's an ops and engineering, which is now switched in the 24th century onwards, and yellow is ops and engineering and red is command.
Yeah.
So Tilly was never had command, but she was in the command training program. So she always had bronze because she was a what's it called, ops and engineer. She was never a science officer.
No.
The Stamets is the spore technician, so he's sciences. And
Madeira's science.
Yeah, well, she wasn't a member of Starfleet, but they weren't a member of Starfleet. They were initially a member of the Earth Human Corps or whatever it was called.
But from this trailer,
and as now joined. But my point is we're only seeing them in Star Trek. For
honestly,
the first time.
out of them all, the gold ones look best. The two.
It's so bizarre as well because in like reality, yellow gold uniforms are stupid.
They get so dirty.
Yeah, and it's like, could you imagine like sending them on an away mission? It's not very stealthy.
No. And honestly, as much as I disliked the Discovery uniforms, if you took the gold bling off them, that's what a military uniform would be look like in the future.
Okay. Anyway,
let's move on.
Talked a lot about uniforms. I think they're an improvement on the grey ones, but they're not that great. I'm just happy that we finally got rid of the weird wedge collars. I'm sick of those. I lost my thing. Here we go. So, behind them, by the way, in that shot where we see the uniforms for the first time, is the half-human, half-Cardassian person that we get introduced to in the trailer, who it seems is probably the president of the Federation of the Planets. Rapid shots continue with separate glimpses of Paul Stamets and Tilly during a ship crisis. So a lot of quick cuts of like, hey, whoa, shit's going on. Wah!
Yeah, stuff blowing up, people looking
Yeah.
forlorn at burnt stuff.
They kind of return back to Michael just moments after the return of the original segment, the opening segment, in a corridor, now entering an empty bridge, and voiceover again, but we are not in this alone. None of us are. So, okay, we got a little bit more of a nice, positive, optimistic line from her. So in January, executive producer and co-showrunner Alex Kurtzman did tease that season 4 will not have a traditional big adversary, which I like, because I'm like I said with Osiris, I'm sick of like there's a big bad to stop. That's not Star Trek doesn't have to be about that. As we know with Voyage Home, Star Trek can be just about a crew trying to figure out a problem that they don't understand.
Do you know what I liked about Osara though? Is she wasn't a big bad. She was basically just a gangster.
Yeah,
She was like a gang leader.
she was a threat to the Federation, though.
Because of what the Federation was with lack of dilithium and being able to travel.
She did genuinely want to join the Federation, though. It's just she was too proud to be sentenced to a trial and answer for her crimes.
And the funny thing is, it was the lack of dilithium and how space.
She actually, in that final episode, in my opinion, graduates from just plain mustache twirling villain into a good
I didn't
villain.
mind her. She. I'm trying to think. I've got someone on my mind who she reminded me of.
Well, she's Margot Kidder's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, moving on, what happens when the villain is not actually any kind of living, breathing entity, but something else is what Kurtzman posits, basically. He's like,
And that's going to be
Yeah.
this gravity well.
The second segment of the teaser gives us our first sense of what this is. It starts with a quick establishing shot of the Discovery, along with some 30-second century Starfleet ships, including what looks like a Saturn class.
Was one of them a donut ship as well, like just a perfect hoop, like a ring?
Well, with the nacelles coming off the back, yeah. Paul Stamets, possibly at Federation headquarters, gives a briefing on the incredible scale of what they're facing, which is interesting because now maybe he's no longer a spore technician because he doesn't have to be by force because he's not the only one who can use the spore drive. There's now anyone can use the spore drive, so now he can actually do what he wanted to do at the end of season 2 when he said he was leaving Discovery. He can go off and pursue a different science. He doesn't have to be.
But from the trailers, I get the feeling the Doctor is still on Discovery.
Well, yeah, and so is Stamets. I wasn't meaning Stamets was going to leave. I just meant because the reason he wants to leave is because he's done with the whole spore drive thing. He wants to go and study something else.
I hope not, because that's Stamets and the Doctor, two of my favourite
Yeah,
characters.
no, Stamets is still on board the Discovery, of course. This giant gravitational anomaly appears to be the big threat of the season. It explains the inverted Federation facility we see earlier, and also we get a handful of shots of like the crew dealing with weird gravitational anomalies. To drive home the point of this threat, we see that the anomaly, what the gravitational it's a mouthful, gravitational anomaly offers, and we hear Admiral Vance, Dadmiral, saying, "Where is it headed next?" I don't like that it kind of like moves.
Well, Tilly says it could go anywhere.
Yeah, because to me, if I guess this is where the science.
I was going to say black holes are moving.
No, well, okay, but they're only moving in the same way that everything is moving,
Exactly.
like everything's in motion. No, what I get from where is it headed next? It's sort of like it's like the Nexus from Generations. Like it's sort of got a preordained path.
As long as it's not. What's the word I'm looking for?
I hope there's nothing behind it.
Yeah, as long as it's not sentient.
I hope it is something that when they figure it out, it's not sentient. It's a
force of nature.
It's not malevolent or benevolent. It's not like it's just something that just so happens to be wrong with this particular part of the universe, and it's just hit the Milky Way galaxy, and we've got to figure out
how to survive.
Yeah, they've got to figure
because
it out.
That's the thing I liked about the Nexus was, the Nexus was just a no. What
The Nexus is
let
dumb.
me think. Inside the Nexus is dumb, but what I liked about the Nexus was it was the driving force for our bad guy. Our bad guy was a really good bad guy in Zoran, who really didn't give a fuck about anyone except himself getting back to the Nexus. Yeah. And so the Nexus wasn't benevolent.
I don't know why he needs to blow up stars though, because we find out that it's to change the gravity, obviously to change its path, but. He could have just flown into it. He was doing that
No,
the
he-
first time.
Guinan-
Guinan ended up in there.
No, Guinan says you can't fly into it. She gets into it because the Nexus hits her ship. It hits her.
No, only parts of her are in it. She's an Echo.
Yeah.
Because she was close
And
to it.
that's how Kirk gets into
Convoluted
it.
technobabble
It hits
bullshit.
the
I don't
Enterprise
know.
B.
We're not talking about generations today. So anyway, cuts to a quick shot and then of Tilly again, and then she says it can go anywhere, which is cool though, because now that tells me that maybe it is just a random force. We don't know. To give you a sense of how bad things are, Michael looks in horror. She's not crying
As
though.
only Michael Burnham can do.
Yeah, she's not crying though. Then Tilly, Dr. Hugh Culber, and Adira Tal observe devastating. Oh yeah, I keep on forgetting that Adira actually has a symbiote in them. They're analysing and observing the damage done to the Discovery as Tilly in voiceover cautions we may not have any kind of warning at all if it hits. This president is not above asking for help. At about the halfway point, the somber music pivots to something with a little more hope, with an established shot of the bridge of the USS Discovery, this time with sparks and stuff flying around. Without any sparks flying around, and with the full crew on board in their positions. You've got Bryce and you've got Reese in their positions. You've even got Saru on board, so we know at some point he comes back. And we've got Oo and Detmer in at the con and ops. So at least we know that the crew's all back together at this point. And I'm really hoping that Reese, Oo, Detmer, and Bryce continue to get more things to do and develop as characters, because Star Trek's ensemble cast needs to be a little bit more inclusive. It can't just be like 4 or 5 and then the others are just there.
Yeah, you've got to have your Geordie episodes. You've got to have your Wesley episodes.
Mind you, though, TOS,
it was just
Chekhov,
and
Sulu, and Uhura were really very rarely integral to any of the plot.
Yeah, but we can hands down say that Star Trek's best series are TNG and DS9, where it is ensemble.
So we now hear the voice of a new character who appears
Unlike
to
the
be
Expanse that has 4 main characters.
appears to be an important part of Season 4, almost certainly the President of the Federation, who was mentioned in Season 3 but never seen. She speaks about the scale problem, and again I'm going to point out that she looks very clearly to be half Cardassian, half human, which is fucking cool. Excuse me.
A Hardassian.
Or a Hudassian.
Or a cumin.
What, you mean like the spice?
Yeah.
As we hear the President speak, we cut to Buck
As
and
long
Michael.
as she's not a Kardashian.
As we hear the President speak, we cut to Buck and Michael under fire in an alien forest. That's a weird assumption to make. Trek movie, like it could be like a Terran forest for all you know. Cut to Dr. Culber, Dr. Pollard, and Stamets joining hands. Buck is on his way. Cut to a different moment with Culber talking to Tilly, saying, "Whatever it is, we will figure it out together." So there is hopefulness in this trailer. It's just it starts off so like, oh god, here we go again. Earlier this year, though, showrunner Michelle Paradise did say that the work of rebuilding the Federation will continue in Season 4. That's what I was arguing with you about last night. It already had started in Season 3.
Yeah.
The end of Season 3 is like, we've got hope.
They're obviously going to reach out to previous planets, and I'm sure they'll reach out to the Earth Alliance as well.
Yeah. One major step towards that would be to bring back the Vulcans who had left the Federation and reunified with their Romulan cousins, renaming their country, their planet to Navarre. Technically, it is a country. We get hints of that in the trailer. Well, at Federation HQ, we do get to see the Navarre representative, President Tarina.
I've seen her in something. I can't remember.
She was in The Expanse. She's Avasarala's one of her aides in Season 4, I believe.
All right.
Yeah. We also see that there's Kwat Malat sisters there. Burnham's mum's back. The two presidents greet each other with the traditional Vulcan salute. Indeed, we are more than allies. The next segment gives us a sense of a mission the crew of the Discovery is being tasked with an establishing shot of Burnham on the bridge while the ship is in distress, perhaps clarifying the chain of command with regard to Captain Saru previously seen on the I hadn't thought about this. In regards to Saru, the Federation President addresses Burnham at the Federation HQ. Captain Burnham, make no mistake, you are in charge. So I'm wondering if a lot of people are saying Saru's an ambassador now. He's the Kelpian ambassador. Except if he was the ambassador, he wouldn't have a Starfleet uniform.
No, which we see at the end.
I reckon Saru is an admiral now, and he's being put back on the Discovery because he's needed for some reason.
Or he's got his own ship.
But why is he back on the Discovery though? To me, it's
because
not.
they're probably working together.
No, to me, it's like the Admiral Kirk being on the training crew exercise in Wrath of Khan, and then wondering if between Willie or Warranty, between Spock and him, whether or not he's going to take command.
But
again.
I don't think Saru will be in. I think Saru will be like a guest appearance every other episode. He'll show up. I don't think he'll be in it.
It's just that's just speculation.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Well,
for certain.
we know that Doug Jones isn't a fan of the prosthetics, so maybe he wanted to.
No, it's not. It's not that he's not a fan of the prosthetics. He's not a fan of the shoes.
Maybe he wants to take a back step.
Do you know how you get away with that though?
You just shoot him from the knees up.
Yeah. You don't shoot his feet ever. Like
We now know he's.
and
We
if,
know enough.
and if anybody says why is Saru shorter, all of a sudden you just say shut the fuck up.
Hey, you just put him on a box like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but you'd still need to have shots of him walking down the hallway. But Doug Jones is tall still. It's like, what, if he's going to lose an extra maybe 5 inches taking those shoes off. So it's like, if people are going to complain about that, then just stop watching. Just stop watching
Make
things.
a 5-inch platform for it to
Yeah.
walk on.
So then Adira Tal, now an ensign in Starfleet. Oh, so I should have just waited until I got to this bit. Speaks to their boyfriend, Gray. Presumably about Captain Burnham. She has faith in me. One of the storylines promised for season 4 is that Grey will become visible to others besides Adira. That's interesting. I'd like to know how they do that.
Well, at the end of it, Juanit Stamets and I always forget the doctor's name.
Culber.
They said,
Hugh Culber.
yeah, because they believe Adira, and say to
Well,
say to them,
Culber meets Grey, the holographic representation of Grey.
yeah, and they say they'll do everything in their power to get you back, basically.
The only thing I don't like about that is it's established that Trill hosts can commune with previous hosts. And that's why it's happening as far as in-universe explanation. What they don't know is why it's happening without a communion. Why is it just happening constantly, and why is it only Grey? I thought it would have been good if we just had it because the connection that they share together, it makes it important. It essentially makes their psyches inseparable. So the idea of actually bringing the character of Grey back to life physically is a bit dumb, in my opinion. It's almost as dumb as Spock coming back to life and Culber coming back to life. Stop killing characters and bringing them back to life. It's weird.
This ain't Star Wars.
Yeah. This ain't Marvel.
Yeah. Characters gotta stay dead.
I'd like it if what happens is that Grey it can only exist on the ship as a hologram or something. That would be cool.
Well, he'd have a mobile emitter.
Yeah. Well, okay, there you go. Not just on the ship then, but
And
comes
then
back.
you're using in-Trek universe stuff to
comes back as a hologram because it makes even though it's even though it's techno babble bullshit gobbledygook. At least it still makes sense referentially in the universe. So
and only one can survive on the ship at any one time.
yeah. Yeah, but you find out though that what's it called later on in the series that's actually bullshit, and that Holly just didn't want to bring anyone else back online because he couldn't be bothered.
But that goes against canon though, because when what's his name dies, and he says, "Holly can only do one, so if any of you go die and try to take my spot, I'll kill you."
Yeah, but it also doesn't make sense though in canon because later on he's got a portable device that he can use on Starbug.
But he gets that from Legion, remember?
No.
Yeah,
Legion gives him the hard light chip that allows him to be able to touch things.
Yeah, the little.
No. His portable, his EMH, a mobile emitter, is something that's just random. It's just randomly introduced in season 4.
Oh right.
To show that he can go off the ship, because in season 3 of Red Dwarf he goes off the ship and there's no explanation for it, and fucking nerds probably were like, why can Rimmer exist off the ship? But anyways.
We got to do a Red Dwarf episode.
Oh, definitely. Off we go. The final moments of the trailer get even more rapid fire with a sense of the Discovery heading off on its mission to save the galaxy. We do get an establishing shot of the ship warping away, which is kind of strange because, yeah, look, there's the screen cap of it. It's the original unrefitted version of the ship. Now, you could look into this too much and be like, ooh, what's going on? Or you could just
have a look at the windows. Is Mephisto in one of them?
Yeah, you could probably just assume that it's just a simple matter of that the guys who put the trailer together are under pandemic lockdown and
using stock
and they're working from home and they're just using stock footage. They haven't finished the visual assets yet for this season. And then we get Michael Burnham again with another voiceover. We are facing something we don't understand, something that could tear us all apart. Again, I don't like that. No, you don't have to tear them all apart. Why can't it be just, it's bringing us together because we have to figure out how...
Maybe she's on about it, though. Literally, it's a gravitational
physically tearing them apart.
5-year wide gravitational anomaly that could
It
tear
actually
you apart.
rip apart the nuclei of the atoms in their
Yeah.
bodies.
That's maybe she's just been completely
That
literal.
seems too clever for Alex Kurtzman. I don't think, unless Michelle Paradise, who's the showrunner, is actually really, really on key, and she was the showrunner for season 3, mind you. So
Maybe.
keep that in mind. So season 3 ended with Sarah back on Kaminar to help Sukal, who is not seen in the trailer, but we do get a shot of a Kelpian female with Saru. We cut back to Navarre and Tarina and a Book with Stamets looking on. Tarina prepares to perform a Vulcan mind meld on Book as we hear Michael's voiceover, but there is only one way to confront the unknown. The music and the clips ramp up faster and faster as the teaser comes to a close, starting with Book hugging Michael, followed by more chaos on the Discovery, including some gravity flipping, a Grudge cameo, explosions and stuff. We get shots of Detmer and Oo again, sitting at their positions. Things come to a fever pitch as we return to Michael alone on the bridge with a spacesuit on, helmet now deployed, and fucking fire and rocks, space rocks blowing up out of the consoles.
That's obviously the end sequence for when it starts. She's walking down.
Do you think that the Discovery is gonna be destroyed?
No.
Cut to black and then a shot of guessing Michael and Saru's hand.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's two captains. It's two red uniforms.
Yeah, but red doesn't necessarily mean captain.
Well, yeah, command.
Yeah. Her voiceover ends by emphasizing the theme of this trailer and possibly the season together. So it's Captain America.
Which one?
Saru obviously is the Kelpian. The other one is Captain America.
What?
Together. That's how we're going to do this.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't get that reference.
No, I didn't.
It's all in the cards. In addition to the shots and dialogue in the trailer, there are a series of title cards that also tell a story. In 2021, in the face of fear, in the face of the unknown, find hope in each other. Star Trek Discovery Season 4.
And that's October of this year.
22nd.
Well, obviously, all three of these were just teasers. Discovery gave us more information than the other two.
But not very much. It just kind of gave us the big bad.
Yeah,
it gave us an idea of what the season-long arc is going to be.
Yeah, and it also gave us an idea that the Federation is picking up from where they left off in Season 3, and that it's going to be heavily put out there that the Federation's trying to rebuild to the size it was. What do we think about now that Sukal is obviously off the planet and is being looked after on... is it pronounced Kaminar?
Kaminar.
We know dilithium is in short supply, but do we believe that...
Well, no, that planet's full of... The whole thing is... That's why they needed to... They didn't need to just help Sukal and figure out the purpose of the burn. They actually needed to get that planet so that...
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, though. So the Federation now has...
It's a planet of dilithium,
yeah, so the Federation now has basically enough all the remaining dilithium in the universe. So
no, you can't possibly know that.
In their sector of the galaxy.
Galaxy's a large place.
So are they going to now have a monopoly on warp drive? Because that will instantly make them the most powerful.
Well, it depends on what Federation this is. If this is the Deep Space Nine, hey, the frontier in the Utopia, this is the frontier of the Federation where money still exists and resources are valuable. Then yeah, but if we're going with the Gene Roddenberry's vision that the Federation is a utopia where there's no disease or war or anything, then no, they'll be planning on going to give it out, a humanitarian mission, give it to everybody.
I think we're probably going to be going down the Deep Space Nine route, and I think
it's more interesting.
Yeah, I think
one of the stupidest things that any Star Trek writer ever did was in Star Trek 4 when he set up the in-universe canon that they don't have money in the 23rd century, because I'm not saying that society can't exist without money, but even a post-scarcity society that can actually provide for its civilians and its citizens will still need to be able to resource manage on a
currency,
on a government level. Like the Federation, for instance, can't just keep building ships out of nowhere. If the Federation wants to build ships for Starfleet, they'll need those resources from somewhere. And unless they have the resources themselves, they'll need to be able to trade with other neighboring civilizations.
I think it would be a good plot point to write into some of the episodes, the fact that a lot of the galaxy despise the Federation now and attack the Federation because they're the only ones with a supply of dilithium.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be a good little side plot, I think. Maybe a good way of reintroduce the Klingons. Because hey, we didn't hear what happened to the Klingons in season 3,
no.
and we know from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and the TNG era stuff that the Klingons are their own empire still, but they're very, very stoic, stern allies of the Federation. So maybe again things started to go to shit.
And what would be interesting as well is to find out what's happened on Kronos and how they perceive Michael Burnham because of what she did in the first season. That would be an interesting...
What did she do in the first season?
Well, she helped unite the Klingon Empire. Remember at the start of the first season, before they were all...
I don't think 900 years on that's going to be very relevant.
But no, but you never know.
Sure.
We remember stuff in British history from 900 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
Specific
I think
people.
if that's the route, then the Klingons won't be like antagonistic towards the Federation. Wouldn't that be cool, actually, if that's what happens in the first episode? One of the first civilizations we're going to go check on, who we haven't heard from over 100 years because of the burn, is the Klingons. So they go to Kronos, and the Klingons are like super advanced now and super like evolved, and they're no longer like a crazy warrior race and whatnot. And they're like, the Federation, welcome back. And
it'd be nice if they did that, but the Klingons are split into two sects. They've got that sect who actually evolved.
Oh God! And the other ones are the Duras family.
Yeah,
still.
and they're like the mega violent Klingons, and maybe they've been ostracized on the moon.
What if it's the Duras family who have been ostracized to another planet, and the people on the enlightened on the enlightened Kronos, the leaders are from the house of Moog.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
I'm getting tingles thinking about that.
Yeah, because I think Discovery last season started heading in the right direction. Again, like a lot of Trek, it took 3 seasons.
I think season 3 of Discovery is the first season of New Trek that is virtually flawless. I've already gone back and watched it and thoroughly enjoyed every episode.
It felt like Star Trek.
I actually haven't gone back and watched any of season 2 yet. I have rewatched season 1 and then also gone back and rewatched individual episodes. But season 3 is the first one where this is my second viewing. I'm just like, yeah, this is brilliant. I'm excited that like they're taking baby steps, but I'm excited that they're starting to actually acknowledge like visual canon, established visual canon. Like when they're on the hologram ship basically at the end, and they're all being represented as different species, and Culber's a Bajoran, and he looks like a Bajoran. He's got a Bajoran earring. I'm like, good. That's the kind of stuff that will make you friends with the Star Trek community.
Do you know what I feel the Discovery showrunners, they know they made a mistake in how they did the first season and second, but they're too proud to admit it. So they're slowly, just slowly going towards what they know is right now.
I understand. I agree with what you're saying, but I think I have a different spin on it. It's not so much that they're acknowledging a mistake, because it's not a mistake, because it was done with intention, and realistically, at the end of the day, visual canon, I'm sorry guys, isn't actually that important.
The most important thing is not to have glass on your bridge.
Yeah.
No glass windows.
No, but you see, that's my gripe. That's my gripe. And realistically, like, if I want to like bitch about it, and I know a lot of other Trekkies do, but it's not glass. It's not a window. It's fucking transparent aluminum.
Still cracks like glass.
But still, that only happens in the J.J. Abrams movies.
All right.
Just get over it. I do think like the cavernous, crazy roller coaster, like.
The turbo
lifts is strange. That to me is like a complete fundamental misunderstanding of the concept. It's almost like somebody explained to someone who'd never seen Star Trek before, someone who's never even seen a fucking boat, and said, this is a device like an elevator in a building, except it can go sideways and it can go backwards, forward, sideways, up and down.
It's the Wonkavator.
And so someone was like, well, what is that then? That sounds like a roller coaster to me. And you know what I mean when you're trying to explain a concept to someone that they've never really experienced before, and then ask them to draw it down and see what they.
Yeah, I know.
That's what it felt like.
Hopefully that gets Like, they don't even need to retcon that. Just
Well,
don't show it ever
Yeah,
again.
there's no retconning that.
Just don't show it.
But again, this is why I say visual canon doesn't really matter, because there's no need to retcon that, because you just like whatever. It's the fucking turbo lift.
Yeah, just
doesn't
show them
affect-
getting in, show them getting
It
out.
doesn't affect the story. All it affects is like tech nerds who buy Star Trek manuals and shit that
Yeah.
do schematic breakdowns of ships. But that's the part of the audience though that you have to be wary of, that you don't want to shit on them. Like so just because it doesn't matter as far as like storytelling or TV making or filmmaking is concerned, you still just, that doesn't give you like a license to just shit on a subsection of your fan base.
And especially Star Trek fans who will go to bat for other Star Trek
That's
fans.
why I say a good way to sort of finish the podcast today and just transition onto one final thing that we don't know really anything about. What we've been hearing about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, to me, vindicates exactly what you were getting at about this idea of it was a mistake and they're retreading their steps. It's not a mistake, but they're becoming more aware,
Cognizant of what the fans want.
They're learning how to appease all the different subsects of Star Trek, and again, they're not going to be able to appease everyone. Like, think of the Star Trek memes page on Facebook. Like, there's people on there who will not like it no matter what. Think of YouTubers like Doomcock and Nerdrotic and Mecha Random and all that. Those are people who have decided before they've seen it, they hate it.
Yeah.
So that group, you can just push them aside and not worry about it. But there is still a group of people out there who want to watch these new Star Trek shows because they love Star Trek and they want it to be good. So you've got to make sure you pay attention to that group. And Strange New Worlds is already seeming to do it, because they're telling us they're trying to see if they can get the visual canon back to where it should be, so that by the time Pike does get in his injury and Kirk ends up the captain of the ship, the Enterprise should look closer to the way it's supposed to look. The bridge and all the technology is going to look closer to the way it's going to look. The uniforms are going to look closer to the way they're supposed to look. The Strange New Worlds have basically come out and said, we're doing Star Trek the right way. And it even goes as far as the format, because they've told us that it's going to be episodic. It's not going to be serialized.
This reminds me of a conversation we had earlier on today, though, when we were talking about Rise of Skywalker. TV shows and movies, yes, are an art form and a place for people to express, but they're also made for the fans. And like we were discussing, that the reason we think the sequel trilogy failed was because it wasn't made for Star Wars fans. It was made for a new generation of kids.
It's not so much that it wasn't made for Star Wars fans, because there are Star Wars fans who love Rise of Skywalker, and there are Star Wars fans who are like, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
There's Star Wars fans who hate it. It's because it's the fact that it had no ambition to any of them. It's like, okay, everyone who hated Last Jedi, we're going to give you what you want. Everybody who loved Last Jedi, we're going to give you what you want. And at the end, it all cancelled itself out, and it ended up pleasing no one.
And that's what we were discussing.
I think with Star Trek, it's a little different. With Star Trek, it's a simple matter of actually understanding that there is people who watch Star Trek because they love the world, they love the idea. There's people who watch Star Trek because they love the shows, they love the stories.
But
love
that's
the
my
drama.
point.
There's people who watch Star Trek because they think. I don't want to get too political here, but there's people who honestly think that the Federation is like not woke and it is not like striving for the best in humanity, who think that Starfleet is a military organization. Because you might say that it is, right? You think Starfleet.
I think Starfleet's military.
Starfleet is not a military organization. They're a humanitarian armada. Pike even says that in a fucking J.J. Abrams movie, of all things. They're not a military organization. Starfleet is a defense organization, but their main mandate is not defense. They will be utilized for defense, as we know, because of the Dominion War. But their main mandate is to seek out new worlds and new civilizations.
New life.
And boldly go where no one has gone before.
No man has gone before.
I think that's a good ending right there.
Yes, so that is the show then. So what's next on the channel? We got Expanse Season 2 discussion 10 Forward coming up.
Which we haven't recorded yet.
Well, but it's coming up. That's probably going to be the next thing we release on the channel. We're going to record it this weekend. We all know that a lot of our subscribers love The Expanse like we do. So I'm looking forward to that one. You've got your 8 hours of Mass Effect Legendary.
And I'm also struggling whether or not by the time I get home tonight, whether I'm going to actually start playing it tonight. I really hope I don't piss off any of my followers by doing that early.
So, Throwback Thursday, go play Pokemon Yellow.
I've got Rome Total War as well.
That as well, yeah. Yeah, don't ruin it. Then we're gonna in June. Your channel is going to stream you taking me through the Burning Crusade for World of Warcraft for my first run through of that expansion ever.
And at some point, we might actually do a thing where you revisit Mass Effect, where I'm there helping you play along with it.
Do you know what I'd like to do for that though?
And then we're going to stream that probably on the YouTube channel.
I'd like to do that on PC because I've never played Mass Effect on PC. So.
But yeah, in the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed watching us tonight. And until next time, stay metal, guys.
And see you later. Have a good night.